Welcome to another video from Mastery Academy, where we are going to discuss the final exam mathematics paper 1 from the Department of Basic Education. So this is the November 2020 question paper. So we are strictly going to discuss question 1 on this video. So question 1, as you can see on the screen, is divided into 3 questions. The first one is solve for x, and then the second one is solve simultaneously for x and y, and then lastly it's a question that requires us to apply our understanding of laws of exponents and how to simplify questions. So without further ado, let us start with question 1.1. 1.1. So here we are given x squared minus 6x is equals to 0. Remember, we are solving for x. So the first thing that we must do here is to first identify the number of terms that we have here. So we have 2 terms. We have this one, this term, and that term. Those are the only 2 terms that we have. And then now let us identify the common factor between these 2 terms. When we're looking at this, we can see that x appears in both terms. So we can factor out that x. So we start off by factorization. So we factor out x. Then now if you take out x from x squared, you're going to be left with just an x. So you have x, and then you take this minus, you put it down as it is, you don't change it. And then now from 6x, when you take out x, you're left with just a 6. So you'll have 6 here. Close the bracket, and then we just copy this equals to and the 0 there. So we equate it to 0. And then now from here, because now we factorized this, we fully factorized it, and then now the next step would be to just equate this x to 0, and then what is inside the bracket as well to 0. So we say x is equals to 0, or x minus 6 is equals to 0. Now with this one, this is fully simplified. There's nothing that you can do on this further. So you just leave it as it is. It is done. But now with this one, we can actually take this minus 6 to the other side. So let's do that step. So we have x is equals to, taking the 6 to the right-hand side of the equal sign, it'll change into a positive 6. Therefore, our answer becomes plus 6. And then now this one as well is now fully simplified. So the roots or the x values for this expression is 0 and 6. Now let us move to the second question, which is 1.1.2. As you can see, we're given this x squared plus 10x plus 8 is equals to 0. And then we are required to correct to 2 decimal places. Okay, so we have x squared plus 10x plus 8 is equals to 0. This expression here can be factorized. So you have 2 ways of solving it. You can either use quadratic formula, you can use quadratic, or you can use completing the square. Both of these methods, if you use any of them, you are going to get the correct answer, provided that you follow the steps correctly. So it doesn't matter which one you choose. So I'd say just choose the one that you're more comfortable with. So for the ease of, and also to try and shorten this video, I will only consider, or rather I'll only explain this using the quadratic formula. And then for those who would like me to solve this question again using completing the square, you can just leave a comment below. I'll definitely create a separate video where I'm going to explain how to solve this using completing the square. Okay, now as we know from the quadratic formula, and remember it's very important that you know this from the heart, it makes it easy for you to apply it. As much as it will be provided in the question paper, exam, but I would advise you to just know it by heart. Okay, now let us define these terms. So A A is going to be the first term. It's going to be the coefficient of the first term, rather. So now our first term is x squared. So it means that there's a positive 1 there. So I'm just going to put a 1 like that. And then for B, when we look at this, B is going to be 10, positive 10. So just put a 10 there. And then for C, looking at this, C is going to be the constant there, which is positive 8. So just going to be 8. Now we are going to take these terms, substitute them on this quadratic formula. So this one becomes x is equals to minus, our B is 10. So we're going to have minus 10 plus or minus square root of so we have 10, which is B, squared minus 4. A is 1, so you put a 1, close bracket, open another bracket, and then we put a C, which is 8. Put an 8 there, close bracket, and then now you put a ruler. Let me use a black color. So there we put a line, and then we just substitute the denominator, which is 2 times A, which is 1. All right? And then now this is going to be x is equals to minus 10 plus or minus square root of 68 over, and then 2 times 1, you get a 2. So there we have it. And then now we're going to separate this into two parts. So we're going to have minus 10. Let's start with the minus 1. So you just separate this plus or minus. You start with the minus square root of 68 over 2, or x is equals to minus 10. And then I will go for the plus 1, plus square root of 68. And then divide by 2. And then now you put these in your calculator. So putting this in my calculator, I get minus 9.12, or x is equals to minus 0.87. So I'm taking two numbers after the comma because of the instruction that we got that said we must round it to 2 decimal places. So now these are answers to question 1.1.2. Now let's move on to 1.1.3. We are given 1 minus x plus 2. You know, there's many ways in which you can solve for x in questions that involves inequalities, like your less than, greater than, less than or equals to, greater than or equals to. There's many ways. So, but I have this other method that I think is very easy to understand. Hopefully you understand it, but if you go through this and then you still don't get it, you are more than welcome to leave a comment, and then we'll create a separate video where I'll be explaining this using a different method. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do here, we're going to say corresponding equation. So you just take this equation, you write the corresponding one. So the corresponding equation, we're just changing this inequality sign to a normal equals to sign. So we say 1 minus x, bracket, x plus 2, close bracket, it is equals to 0. And then from here, we solve for x using the normal way. So obviously you're going to take 1 minus x equated to 0, or x plus 2 equated to 0. Therefore x is equals to, so you're going to take this to the other side, and then it becomes positive 1, or x is equals to, you take this one to the other side. Rather, let me use arrows here. So take this one to the other side. All right, and then here you're just going to have a minus 2. And then now you draw a number line. You draw a number line. So number line is going to look like this. Let me push it up a little bit. All right. So So on this number line, you're going to indicate 2 points. Just 2 points. So you choose 2 points because we have two values of x here. So let's start with the smaller one, which is minus 2. So we have minus 2 and 1. 1 like that. So this is our number line. So allow me to draw lines, dotted lines, going up like this. So here I'm going to say x, 1 minus x in brackets. And then here I'm going to say x plus 2. So I'm copying this, what you have there. You start with the first bracket, put it there. Second bracket, you put it there. And then, so now the next thing is to assume any number less than minus 2, between minus 2 and 1, and greater than 1. So you can think of any number. But remember, this, you don't have to write it on your table. These are numbers that you assume, because it can be any number. You don't have to. So I'm going to assume minus 3 here, because minus 3, it's on the left side of minus 2. And then for any number between negative 2 and 1, I'm going to assume a 0. And then any number greater than 1, I'm going to assume 2. Doesn't have to be fancy numbers, any numbers, as long as it falls within this, that, and that. All right, so now we're going to take this number, substitute it on these two equations, and write the answer that we get here. I would say let's write the sign instead of the answer. Like for example, if you take this minus 3, put it on this, you're going to end up with, let me just write it here, 1 minus x becomes 1 minus 3, which ultimately becomes 4. Now this is a positive number, so you just write a positive there. Write a positive like that. And then you take this 3, you put it on that, so it's x plus 2. And then when you put it there, it becomes minus 3 plus 2, which becomes minus 1. So because this number is a minus or it's a negative, then you just put a minus sign there. And then now we do the same thing with this one here and that one there. But obviously we are now using a 0. So you take this x, you put it where, you take this 0, you put it where there's x. So it's going to be 1 minus 0, which is just 1. 1 is a positive number, so just write a positive sign there. So you repeat the same thing of taking this, substitute the value just like we did there. So rather, let me just put it here. So instead of putting a 3, we're going to put a 0. And here as well, we put a 0. So when you come and put a 0, see x minus 1 minus x, you put a 0 there. The answer that you get is just 1, which is a positive number. That's why I wrote a positive there. And then if you take this one, you put it there, is this part. So you put a 0 here, and then you get what? You get a positive 2. So the answer for this one is also positive. And then you repeat the same thing with this one there. So you can do it on your own. Let me just do it quickly here to save time. So when you put the 2 into 1 minus x, you are left with minus 1, which is a negative. Then you put a negative there. And then you put this 2 into that, you get a positive 4, which is a positive number. Therefore, you put a plus there. So now, going back to this, because this one says you multiply this bracket with that bracket. So you are going to multiply this bracket with this bracket, or rather this sign with that sign. And then you write the corresponding sign here. All right. So let's do that. So now if you multiply positive with a negative, you get what? You get a negative sign. Get a negative. And then if you multiply a positive with a positive, you get a positive sign. Get a positive. And then you multiply a negative with a positive, you get a negative. Now, going back to this expression that we have there, we're going to compare this with these signs. You see the green signs? We're going to use them to compare with that. Now, it says that if you multiply this bracket, 1 minus x, with x plus 2, you get a number that is less than 0. A number that is less than 0 is basically a negative number. Any number that is less than 0, it's a negative number. So if you multiply these two, it says that this inequality says that if you multiply these two brackets, you're going to get a negative number. And if you check here, we got a negative number when you multiply these two numbers. So this is true. But now, here it says if you multiply them, you get a positive. So this can't be true. It's false. It's false. And then multiplying these two gives us a negative number. It agrees with this expression. So this is true. And then from this, we can now draw these inequalities. You can say x, because any x that is less than negative 2 is true. So we're going to say x must be less than negative 2. Or x, because any number greater than 1 is true, we must say x must be greater than 1. So we've solved the question, or rather you can also draw the number line in this way, and then you put in the numbers. So you put in your minus 2 and 1, and then you put your 0 there, and then you draw your arrow going that way. And then let me fix it. And then you do this one again, and then you draw your arrow going that way. So we've solved question 1.1.3. Now let us move to question 1.1.4. We are given square root of x plus 18 is equal to x minus 2. We start off by squaring both sides of the equation. So we have square root of x plus 18 squared, x minus 2 squared. And then this squared is going to take away this square root sign. So that's the reason why we are squaring both sides. So what you do on the left, you must do on the right. So since this 2 will take out the square root sign, we're going to be left with x plus 18 is equals to x minus 2, x minus 2. So I expand this because of the exponent of 2 there. And then now from here, we're going to FOIL this. I believe we all know how to FOIL. So, but to make things easier, let me just draw these arrows to show how we're going to FOIL it. So these arrows, they tell you how we're going to multiply these numbers. So now we're going to say x times x. We get x squared. And then x times negative 2, you get minus 2x. And then negative 2 times x, you get minus 2x again. And then negative 2 times negative 2, you get positive 4. Positive 4. And then I'm going to copy this as it is because nothing changes here. We have x plus 18. And then x plus 18 again is equals to, when you look at this number, there's nothing that you can add it to here. There's no other number that is x to the power of 2. So therefore, we just copy it down as it is. It won't change. You get x squared. And then this one, these are like terms. So negative 2x minus 2x, you get minus 4x. And then lastly, this one, there's nothing that we can add it to. Therefore, we just copy it as a 4. So you can take these two to the other side. So we do that, we are left with this. X squared minus 4x plus 4 minus x minus 18. So these numbers, both of them are positive. So when they jump the equal sign, they all become negative numbers. So we simplify further again. There's nothing that you can add it to the x squared, so you leave it as x squared. And then you have minus 4x minus x. So these are like terms. Let me just do it this way. This and that are like terms. And then because of that, we are going to have minus 5x. And then this one is a constant, and that is a constant. And we are going to be left with minus 14. And then this can be rewritten as x squared minus 5x minus 14 is equal to 0. And then now from here, we factorize this. So we factorize it in this way. We'll have x and x. The factors of x squared is x and x. And then the factors of 14 is 7 and 2. So we have 7 and 2. And then you take the sign, you put it down here. Take the minus, put it there. We have a minus there. We have a negative multiplied with the negative. So we know that negative times negative is positive. And then you have something like that. And then now from here, you equate each bracket to 0. Or x plus 2 is equals to 0. Is an x. And then now, so we take this number to the other side, this one as well to the other side. So you have x is equals to 7, or x is equals to minus 2. But now, I'll give you a task to check if this is correct. Let me give you a task to just check yourself. Suppose now you have x plus 18 square root, and then you have x minus 2. And then you got that x is equals to 7, or x is equals to minus 2. Now, if you take the 7 and put it where there's x here, so this is you checking yourself. We are done solving the equation, by the way. This is solved. You checking yourself, you substitute 7 where there's x, so you're going to have x plus 18, put the square root sign, and then let's see if we're going to get the same answer as on the right-hand side. So we have 7 minus 2. 7 plus 18 is equals to square root of 25, and then 7 minus 2, which is 5. So here we have 5 is equals to 5, because square root of 25 is 5. So this is true. So this is fine. We can use it. Now let us check this other one. So you have, again, you have x plus 18, square root sign, is equals to x minus 2. And then I will substitute the value of minus 2 there. So you have negative 2 plus 18, square root, is equals to negative 2, negative 2. And then here you're going to be left with, so negative 2 plus 18 gives you 16. Under square root sign. And then on the right side, you're going to have minus 4, because minus 2 and minus 2 gives you minus 4. Square root of 16 is 4, positive 4. And then on the right side, we have a negative 4. So there's no way that a negative 4 and a positive 4 can be equal. So because this value can't give you that, therefore this can't be accepted as the value of x. So therefore, you go back to your answer and just negate this. You negate it by what? By just putting this line that says x should never be equals to negative 2. However, x can be equals to 7. And in this way, we have solved this question. All right. Thank you guys for watching. Now we're going to move to question 1.1.2, where we are required to solve for x and y simultaneously. Now, from the two equations that we are given, the first one we're going to call it equation 1, and then the second one we're going to call it equation 2. You just name them randomly. And then now from equation 1, because it is much simpler, we are going to formulate equation 3. We formulate equation 3 by taking the x value to the right-hand side. So now this is going to look like y is equals to 3 minus x. Now this is equation 3. So now from this, we're going to substitute equation 3 into equation 2. So where there's a y in equation 2, we're going to put 3 minus x. So let me copy equation 2 first as it is, plus 4xy minus y is equals to 15. And then from this, we have 2x squared plus 4x. Instead of writing y, we're going to substitute 3 minus x. So we have 3 minus x, which is equals to, is minus. Now, instead of copying this y, we're going to write 3 minus x. So we have 3 minus x. 3 minus x. Now, this is equals to 15, just like that. And then now we simplify this. So we have 2x squared plus 4x times 3, you get 12x. And then 4x times negative x, you get minus 4x squared. Negative 1 times 3, you get minus 3. And then negative 1 times negative x, you get plus x is equals to 15. And then now we're going to sort out the like terms. So we have 2x squared. 2x squared is added together with minus 4x squared. And then doing so, you'll be left with minus 2x squared. And then 12x goes with just x. And then doing so, you'll be left with plus 13x. And then now, the minus 3, okay, let me do it one step at a time. You copy the minus 3. And then you take the positive 15 back to the left-hand side. And then it becomes minus 15 is equals to 0. So negative 2x squared plus 13x minus, so minus 3 and minus 15 gives us minus 18. Minus 18, which is equals to 0. So at this point, you can factorize it. You can use quadratic formula, or you can use completing the square. So the much simpler one that I think we must use is the factorization. But obviously, if you want to factorize, you know the rules. And this number, the coefficient of x squared, must be positive. So we're going to multiply this whole equation by negative 1. So we say negative 1 times the whole equation, minus 2x squared plus 13x minus 18 is equals to 0. So multiplying by 1 is going to change these signs. They will change as follows. So you're going to have 2x squared minus 13x plus 18 is equals to 0. And then from here, we factorize this. Factorization is going to look as follows. I believe we all know how to factorize. So we have 2x and x. Those are the factors of 2x squared. And then the factors of 18 is going to be 9 times 2. So you put a 9 here, then you put a 2 there. And then you take this sign, put it here. It's a minus. And then you take this minus, you multiply it with the positive. Positive times negative, you get a minus. Then that's what you have there. So now we factorize this. After factorization, we equate these brackets to 0. So this is done as follows. So we're going to have 2x minus 9 is equals to 0, or x minus 2 is equals to 0. And then from here, we solve for x. So we take the minus 9 to the other side, it becomes a positive 9. And then we take the negative 2 to the other side, it becomes a positive 2. So this is solved fully, but with this one, we can still divide by 2 both sides. So we divide by 2, divide by 2. The 2's will cancel out, and then we'll be left with x is equals to 9 over 2. Now, these are your x values. Now, you take these roots, or these x values, you go and substitute them back into equation 3 to get the y values. So now, equation 3 is given as y is equals to 3 minus x. So now here, I'm going to say substitute x is equals to 2, or x is equals to 9 over 2 into equation 3. So y for x is equals to 2. You have y is equals to 3 minus 2. Y is equals to 1. And then for x is equals to 9 over 2. You have y is equals to 3 minus 9 over 2. Now you can use a calculator straight away to get the answer for this, or you can do it manually, whichever you prefer. 3 minus 9 over 2 gives you negative 3 over 2. And we've solved the equation. So you can group them. You can either leave them this way, or you can group them in terms of this one corresponding to that, this one corresponding to that. But anyway, we have solved question 1.2, and now we're going to move to the last question, which is 1.3. It says if n is the largest integer for which n to the power of 200 is less than 5 to the power of 300. Determine the value of n. So n is the largest integer for which this condition must be met. So this, I'm going to solve it here. So we have n to the power of 200, which is less than 5 to the power of 300. The first thing that we're going to do here is to separate the exponents in this way. So if n to the power of 2 times 100, 5 to the power of 3 times 100 as well. So laws of exponents allows us to separate these exponents in this way. This can be further written as n to the power of 2 bracket 100 exponent 5 to the power of 3 bracket 100 exponent there. And then this the same as n to the power of 2 to the power of 100. In fact, because the exponent is the same, because these exponents, let me highlight them. Because we have two exponents that are the same, we can get rid of them. We can lose these exponents and deal with the basis. So getting rid of these exponents, we are left with n to the power of 2, which is less than 5 to the power of 3. Now n to the power of 2 is less than 5 to the power of 3 can be written as 125. If you put n to the 5 to the power of 3 in your calculator and press equals to, you get 125. So now we need to think of values from which you get 125. If you square them, 125. The only number that you can put in the place of n, and you square it in such a way that it does not give you more than 125. The biggest number that you can think of or that you can put in there is actually 11. So 11, n should be 11. N must be 11. Because, look at this. If you say 11 to the power of 2, you get 121, which is less than 125. So 11 can work. So our answer to this question is 11. So we are done solving these questions. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've learned something. Please make sure you leave your comments. Make sure you inform your friends about this video. Let them know that we keep uploading, we keep recording live videos here at Mastery Tutoring. So make sure that your friends knows about this. And good luck with your schoolwork. And if you need any extra help, please don't hesitate to leave your comments here. Or rather, if you need like a private tuition, then you can contact me. It's easy. The number is on the screen at the end of this video, or you can check out the other videos that we upload. Our contact details are there. Thank you so much once more for watching. Goodbye.